Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sonic Talk, episode 791. Recording today on Wednesday, it's the 28th. So we're one day outside of a leap year. It is a leap year because tomorrow is the 29th. And on the 1st is our live event. So if you're busy, or not busy, rather, do either come along in person in Bath, or maybe, I think I can press a button. Maybe that button will do it. If I do that, it'll throw... I get the link right this time. Yes, that's details. That's got the link to the live stream, which will be 8 live acts playing. In fact, if I throw that there, you can see there's all the stuff. So do come along. But anyway, this is a music technology podcast. You can tell because I've just plugged a live electronic music gig. And we're going to be talking about software and hardware and all kinds of other things as we go along. Software, synthesizers, production, recording, many different... the canon is large, I think, as we say. I also want to say thank you very much to our friends in the chat. I think the IRC, the freebie IRC that's embedded in the page is having a problem, but Wagyu's very kindly, as ever, doing his job moderating and also connecting all the dots behind the scenes, which is why you can see chat from YouTube and IRC and other places as well. So thank you very much for that. And while I've got your attention, I would very much like to draw it to our Patreon, which I will play an ad for now. Hey, why not consider joining us on Patreon? For a mere $3, you get all of our monetized content, editorial, posted ad-free, where you can watch it without any ads. As we know, there's a lot of those on YouTube. You also get access to the Sonic Talk pre-show. There's a few other bits and pieces besides, but if you join us at the upper level, which is only $6 a month, you'll get all of the above, plus exclusive videos. Certain videos go up ad-free. Often we're asking for comments about editorial stuff that we're posting as well. Other exclusive bits and pieces, sample packs, a whole bunch of other things. And if you join us before the end of the show, your name will appear in credits at the tail of this one. So why not consider supporting us? It's very much appreciated if you already do. And if you are considering it, then go for it. Right, thank you very much. What I should also put is just a kind of coming up as well. This is all the sort of housekeeping that I like to do. So we've got, let me see, what have we got coming up here? I'm just trying to, I press that one and I press that one, I think. And then it says, yes, don't forget, win a Teenage Engineering Knockout 2, KO2. I think that finishes on the 5th, which is Tuesday. All you got to do is go to that link, which I just posted in the chat, and you can enter. They're going to ship it directly to you, so you can be anywhere in the world. I want to thank them very much for joining us and making that possible. Right, all the housekeeping done. We can get on to our guests. We can start. Look easy. It's Richard Nicol from Pittsburgh Modular, spelt correctly. He had such a good time last week. He had to come back. How are you, Richard?
I did. I'm well. It's good to be back. Another week and another busy week at Pittsburgh Modular. We do have something coming up next week, and so we've been running around like crazy trying to get everything organized for it.
Yeah, finding all the tape for the boxes and the have you got enough stamps, all that sort of thing, I'd imagine. All those last minute things. I'm looking forward to that. And of course, Richard has, many people want to know what was on the shelf behind you from last week, and they are 2600 game console games. Is that right? Did I get that correctly?
Yeah, that's my collection of 2600 games. I've got maybe 100, 150 of them at this point.
Oh, nice. Do you get much time to play them, or do you just they're things of beauty, aren't they? It's the packaging that's often the.
You know what? If I want to play it, I typically just open an emulator on my computer and play it that way. Very rarely do I use the actual games.
Yeah, fair enough. It's that old thing, isn't it? About it's like the classic 70s synthesizer wizards who just go, "Oh God, no! I use a laptop now. I don't want to carry all that stuff around anymore. It's far too much of a pain." And that chuckle that you heard there was Paule Bow, Magical Synth Adventure, who is standing up for this one.
I'm
they're doing a live stream later, so if you do check their stream out. Is that why you're standing? You actually do look like a keyboard wizard. Your trousers match your Waldorf. If that's not, is that? Yeah. So what are you doing tonight?
The curtains match the Waldorf. I am doing a we've already got a show title if we don't have any more.
I think there could.
So
be. I'm just going to write that down.
The Roland XV and JV engine Still got plenty of life in it, basically. So I'm going to just show off some of the weird sounds I've made, because anything with a ring modulator and an FM can sound weird. So I've got an XV2020 below, and I've got this MC307, which is based on the JV2080 architecture. So I'm going to just play some patches, do a bit of on the screen, you know, live editing.
Excellent.
Because I can do that now.
time?
I can do all this WizKid stuff now. 6 p.m.
6
So I'll
PM,
probably
straight-
be running off about 5 from this.
Okay, right, brilliant. Well,
Maybe just after 5.
Glad to hear it. We've
Yes.
also got a review coming up from Paule soon. I've been working on the Mega Synthesis from Liven. I haven't had a chance to look at that because I've been here setting up all of the EMOM stuff, which is, as I already plugged out, I won't go into it again. But I can't wait to see that, Paule. Excellent. And finally,
that'll be brilliant.
and finally, we've got, look who it is. It's Robin Vincent from Syntheast, fresh back.
Yay!
You don't look like a man who's just put on a weekender event.
Do I not?
You don't look tired. You don't look distressed. You look fine. I'm glad to hear it, though.
Oh, it's all beneath the surface. I've tried to take a couple of days off, funnily enough, which has been nice, although impossible. But you know, the idea was there and the intention of not doing too much. So I've had a little bit of time to recover, which is great.
I'm really glad to hear. And how did it go? 'Cause, I mean, I'm sorry I couldn't make it, but it was just too close to our own thing, and we've got quite a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes here. So I do apologise. Next year,
it was superb. I mean, my one worry going into it is that last year was just such a perfect event that I thought it's bound to just go downhill from there. We sort of peaked on our first one, but as it happens, no, it was easily just as good with other things and different things. In fact, going into it, it just felt a lot calmer because it's like on 9 o'clock Saturday morning, the first time around, where we started it off and it's like, I have no idea what we're supposed to do. And all the manufacturers turned up and just sort of started setting up tables and it just sort of went on, which was great. But this time around, at least I knew what was supposed to happen. And the likelihood is that, look at that it would just
I've got
go
your
off.
360.
Yeah, that's very
360
exciting.
stuff. So we're just looking at this is at Norwich Arts Centre. I think I've done a gig there many years ago with when it was Acid Jazz Days.
Oh wow!
If I press that button, then you can still be in the frame as well. There we go. Look,
That's very exciting.
so this is meta. So this is it.
Yeah, this is it. So we had Korg in the foyer with Electronic Sound, who are my sort of collaborators in this event, and then in the main hall is where most of the manufacturers are hanging about, and we also have the performances in there. So it's all mixed in together. So every hour or so, you get someone entertaining you with some bleeps and bloops, as well as having your head stuck in somebody's synthesizer. So
That's an interesting format. How did that seems like a really good idea. How did that work out? Was that
yeah?
Did that work?
Yeah, it's really working. I mean, it was kind of borrowed from Modular Meets up in Leeds, really. That's kind of how they did it. And so I thought, that's a really good way of doing it. And because we only really had the one space, and as it turned out, I mean, last year when we tried it out, what the manufacturers said was that it was actually really nice because they got a break. Sort of every hour, on the hour, more or less, there was like a 10-15 minute performance. And so everyone looked at that and they got a chance to go, I'm going to go for a wee and get a cup of coffee and that kind of thing, which is unusual, apparently, at a show.
Yeah.
And so it really breaks it up. It gives it sort of a chance to breathe. And also, the performances aren't bad either, which is a bonus. So we just have a bloody good time of it. Yeah.
I'm just going to throw that up there. I must admit, I'm really digging 360 video. I think it's great, isn't it? It really does kind of help you get an idea of. Apart from it makes everybody look like they've got much bigger noses than they really do have in real life, which is it's just an unfortunate byproduct. But hey, we can live with that.
It is. But yeah, good time was had by all, as far as I understand it. So that's great. Can't wish for more than that.
Excellent. I'd just like to point out that was probably my finest composite shot I've ever done on Sonic Tour. The 360 view and you at the side. I'm going to pat myself on the back for that one, and I didn't make it break.
You looked effortless.
I'm quite pleased. It wasn't though. You just see what's going on below below the fold. It's a terrible mess. Anyway, well, that's everybody's intro. That's all the introductions done. Let's see what we got. We got a few topics as well. So, okay, this seems quite sort of. It's quite software heavy this time, but that's okay because sometimes that's just the way it goes. So this is something called Rando, which is it's youth speak for somebody sort of maybe in your face that is quite random, I suppose. It's often spoken. The idea of this software is what it does is it will just map a bunch of samples across your keyboard at the click of a button. You can fix where they want to be. You've got edit points over. I think there's some like volume envelopes and trigger types and looping and that stuff. It's quite a nice idea, and I really thought it did something that it doesn't, but it should. So the idea is it scans all of your samples and you just kind of go, fill me a keyboard up with samples. I mean, here's, you can search for things. You can say, don't swap these out, and presumably you can save presets and whatnot. On offer for $49. I think it might be a bit more when it gets going. I was hoping what it would actually do would allow you to build a load of kits, and it would go, I know this is a kick. Kick is always on C, whether it's, what octave. Snare's always on D, at least in my drum map anyway. Hi-hat's on F sharp, open hi-hat, F sharp, G sharp. And then you could just kind of make a pattern that you were happy with and hit random, and it would replace the kicks and the snares and the hi-hats, and you go, oh yeah, that's better. But
see, that's a bloody good idea, isn't it? That's a really good idea. Why don't they do that? You should throw that out there. Find a programmer.
I think there's probably something that AI could probably do quite easily. But yeah, I'm not dissing this at all. I just thought this was what it did. Because, as we all know, programming drums, you either end up in a situation where you just kind of go, I'll find a preset, they're mapped to my pad so I can trigger them properly. Because you don't want, your kick drum on C9 and then, your hi-hat on F2 or something. You want some sort of continual consistency, because then it makes it easier for muscle memory. And anything that makes that easier, this works nicely in that it'll just throw, here's a keyboard of random sounds that you might want to trigger. And I think that's kind of quite good from a creativity point of view. But yeah, I think I'm right, actually, Robin. And you're
I
right
think
too.
you are. Yes, we're all right with this. There's a lot of this about at the moment that I was recently reading about, is it Atlas and XO as well, different things that we seem to be obsessed with managing our sample library. So we all have these incredibly bloated sample libraries. Well, at least I do. I don't even know which drive it's on anymore. It just fills up great big corners of your computer with very little hope of finding anything within it, really. And there's a lot of people are having this idea of finding ways of digging back into that, and this seems to be kind of another one of those. I like the idea that it just throws it across your keyboard, but you're right. If ever I come across a drum kit that's not general MIDI mapped, then I'm very upset most of the time because it's like, why is that not there? I know that ride symbol is going to be bang on. Yeah, bang on there.
Guiro's always on that note. Where's it gone? Where's my bird tweet gone? I need that now. Yeah,
no, exactly. Yeah. So to scatter them a bit randomly seems weird. But I like the idea that it's trying to get you to encourage you into your sample library. That's a very positive thing, because there is stuff in there that's been gathering dust inevitably. But the whole tagging thing I always find interesting, because I've never been bothered.
Who can
to tag stuff?
How much how much spare time have you got?
I don't know. So, is it a plugin looking for a job, really? That you end up spending your 50 quid on just another sample pack that you'll use the once and then.
I don't think it does. That's what I like the idea of. It curates your own thing. I don't know, Richard, it's a bit like, in Google Photos, go, remember these? And you go, oh yeah, I'd forgotten about that. And it's kind of like that in a way. It allows you to sort of rediscover things you didn't know you had or that you'd forgotten about, which isn't a bad thing, say, at all.
No, I found this really interesting just because I'm the same way. I have a big folder. I just throw stuff in. I don't really pay attention to what it is or where it's going. And this is a great way to sort of explore that. I did feel like that they could have used that user interface a little bit better. It would be nice if above each key that maybe the name of the sample was written. So you had some sense, because, you know, that large keyboard that they give you there, they fill it with samples, but you still then have to go and press every key to go through them. If I could at least read what it was, I could say,
a 2-octave view with bigger with writing on it. Yeah, that's an interesting idea.
And after watching a couple of the videos for this, I didn't notice at first, but it started to drive me a little crazy, is that that big circle they have with the 4-second animation that loops. After a while, you start to watch it and be like, oh, now the bottom's going to bubble out and the top's going to bubble out, because it's not animated. It's just a 4-second loop. But other than that, if they would put the names in there, I think I would definitely use this thing, because it seems like a fun way to sort of look back on your past.
Well, and also to be able to access, because I mean, I used to have loads of samples on my, particularly because I used to be a drum programmer was my thing, so I had all of these. They started as Ackeyes, then they got kind of converted to ESX, then they got converted to sample cell, then to ESX, and so I've just got folders of this crap, but no longer on my current computer. I know, Paulie, how do you?
Yes.
Because One Shot, I mean, they're small enough. It's just that. How do you manage yours? Do you build kits out of them and then try and keep them to hand?
I use sound fonts because I'm, archaic like that. So I'll chuck my samples into a sound font and then just have one file with a load of banks in, of various stuff. I guess you could do it in Contact. But yeah, I think this is a great start of plugins named after Gen Z lingo. So we've got Rando. So next we're going to get Turnt, Yeet, Bougie, maybe.
Yeah,
Bougie will have diamonds on it.
Pang,
be quite good. But
Pang, Peak. Yeah, we could get the whole lot, couldn't we?
I
only know this because I've got a teenage daughter. I'm not in no way is my finger on the pulse whatsoever.
I had a 22-year-old colleague once, and I was spending half my time looking at Urban Dictionary whenever I went to the loo. What the hell is she saying? So yeah, there we go. It happens to us all, I guess. I want to know, is there a way of selectively, doing it? Because if your hard drive is half full of samples of you just whipping the cabin boy, that gets a bit samey after a while.
Yeah, that's true.
So I'm wondering, is there a way you can kind of stop that and just go, here's the good stuff, and maybe just cabin boy every 10% of the time.
One per octave, perhaps. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I don't think it. I don't think it does any AI analytical stuff, but there are. I know that I forget the one that Yoad's always talking about, and he says it's really good for creating. So you can find a snare, and then it sort of creates a little universe of things that have the similar sonic characteristics that you could just go, that one instead. And so there's probably something in here that we're waiting to have happen that's going to make it a lot easier for us to be able to find and replace samples. Because, I mean, it is a snore, isn't it? I mean, I think when I was a kid, I build all of these sample sets. I go, right, okay, here's a load of things that was like, here's 4 octaves of itchy percussion sort of sounds. Here's 4 octaves of of kick drums, but then I could never program them properly, and I'd have to sort of reprogram so I could go, well, I want the kick, it's this sort of remapping thing. I think is probably there's something to mine there, perhaps, in terms of how maybe AI, maybe this is something that AI, I wouldn't mind a MIDI paperclip that could help me out doing that sort of stuff. I don't know how you feel about it, but maybe not a paperclip. Maybe it'd have to be, I don't know, what could it be? What's the music equivalent of a paperclip? What about a treble clef? Or that's really cheesy.
A cowbell.
Or
a
cowbell.
Perfect.
The MIDI, okay, well that's it. Anyway, this is Rando. I think I put the link in the notes. I'll just put that there again. It seems to be, Rando. We put a news item up about it a little while back, but it's cool enough. Okay, I think I'm going to get my ads in early, or one of them. So we're going to have a little message from our friends over at iZotope, which I will read as we go. Yeah, here we go. This is RX10, of course. New features, text markers, so you can find your way through dialogue, multiple speaker detection. You can bring thin audio to life with upgraded spectral recovery, remove complex hums and buzzes with dynamic adaptive mode, dehum, all new Repair Assistant plugin. Do what you want with sound. It's available in Music Production Suite 6, the smart solution for clear audio. And don't forget to use the code SONIC10 to save 10% at checkout. Very much appreciated. And I don't get tired of listening. I love the music of this. I'm hoping that actually the music in that was made by an iZotope employee rather than just licensed by somebody. I have a feeling it's probably licensed by somebody before, because we did once do a thing where I played an iZotope ad and we got a copyright strike because they'd only got the license to use it for their own use. And yeah, anyway, but thank you, iZotope, very much appreciated, and thanks for the music bed. Enjoy that a lot. Okay, let's see what's next. I suppose we could. I mean, you know, there's more drum stuff. There's more. Let's go for the next drum one as well, because I think then we can explore this whole notion of how we approach drums a little deeper. So here's what's this one? Oh, this is Klevgrand One Shot, which is, it does multi-velocity layers, sort of round robin stuff. It's got 9 slots, which is great for those drum pads. As we've seen, most of them have 9s, and there's something very nice and dry about this. He's playing on the Nord drum. There's another one where, so yeah, we've got that 9 slots, 2 effects per slot, and then all these sort of trigger modes. It just seems like a really smart way to do it. And then it's not the first one. There are a number of other products like this on the market, but oh yeah, anyway, there's too much jingle going on there. And once again, another way of managing it. This is actually comes with a big library, and it's not doing any clever stuff in terms of kind of telling you what samples you should use, but it just seems like a very effective, in all the videos I've seen, is just somebody with an MPC, not an MPC, an Alesis or a Roland, drum pad system that just, it makes it very easy for them to build kits on. This also looks good as well. I'm coming back to you, Richard. I mean, again, drums. Do you find that you're always looking for the ideal scenario? Because I mean, like we mentioned briefly in the previous topic, it's very hard to find and build your own kits without getting involved in kind of basically an IT project, I think.
I think there's been a couple nice software solutions over the years for this. As far as plugin, I used to use the Reason drums. And that was nice because you could set where the mic was going to go, and it was very easy to sort of tweak the kit like you're miking a real drum kit. And that was really nice. As I was watching this video, it sort of reminds me of that Reason refill, except this is sort of, it sounds a little bit better maybe, and the interface is very clean. So I think for something that you want something fast and you just want it to sound good, this is a nice way to go. Recently, I've sort of switched, as you can imagine, to hardware drum machines, but I do play around on my laptop all the time, and I'm always pulling samples from here and there. And to have something like this where I could just turn it on, pick a drum kit and go, and I know it's going to sound good, and keep my mind in sort of the creative space and not the engineering space is always a positive thing.
Yeah, I think that's a valid point. I mean, it's like we're trying to remove friction from the process. It's all well and good if you're putting on a live show and you have to program it up so that everybody, things are in the right place and you've got the right samples where they are. But when you just want to play some drums or build a drum track, it's a very different sort of brain approach, I think, isn't it, Robin? I don't know. I mean, you can also add your own samples to this as well. So you could sample that kind of millions of modular blips and bloops if you happen to be in that mode, and then drop them in there.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, I do play normal music too, so looking for a decent drum kit is something that does use up my time from time to time. I mean, I find that the big kits like the Stephen Slate drums or the Abbey Road, this, that, and the other, 60s drums, 70s drums, 80s drums, that they all seem to be in some ways overwhelming, where you've got all this choice and all this level and this big kit in front of you and quite a complicated interface. I mean, the thing that funnily enough, there's two that I use the most. One is Brushify by by Sample Sun. It's a brush kit. I love brush kits, which you can never find, and this is a particularly good one. It's not. I don't want the stir in the pot part of a brush kit, which is what you always seem to get. I just like the sound of brushes on a drum kit, and so they do that brilliantly with this Brushify Pro kit. It's just one kit, and it's like finger drums and brushes, and it's beautiful. There's that. It's very, very simple. It doesn't have loads of stuff hanging around it. The other one is the Spitfire Labs, the free drum set they do, which is just, you can play it and it just sounds nice. It's a little bit over the top, but it's not massively processed. It's very acoustic. So both of those are the sort of things that I go to straight away, because I'm usually just trying to do some kind of demo, and it's a good thing to play. What I like about the Klevgrand stuff is that they have a vibe and a style about them that somehow instills me with confidence, because all of the things that they do just have this feel to them that I know is not going to be Stephen Slate drums. This is going to be the kind of the opposite of that somehow, in that it's not a massive rock kit. This is going to be something interesting and nuanced and quirky and stuff. And obviously they've got 8,000 samples in there, so I'm sure they've got everything. But I imagine, having not used it, that the interface is going to be easy, it's going to be straightforward, and it's going to be giving you the things that you want rather than absolutely everything. Because I mean, I think you got like individual control over each sound within each slot. I think there's 15 slots rather than 9. Maybe you can only see 9 on the page.
Okay.
Yeah, but I imagine that it's that the way they do things, their ease of use and their interface, which is always very good, is going to work really well in this sort of situation. Can you still find a kit that you want to play? I don't know. That's always what it comes down to.
Well,
I think.
yeah, who knows? $99 intro price, $149 for the full thing. I know, I'm Paule. I mean, I've heard the drums programming in your music, and it's a lot of the time it's actually very complex and quite realistic in some places and very machine-like in others. So you obviously spend a lot of time with it. I mean, I don't know whether this is something that would work for you necessarily, because it's already it's sort of pre-curated.
Yeah, I don't know actually, because obviously for anything acoustic, I really like Addictive Drums. Like, still, the original version, Addictive Drums 1, has got so many mics and so many options and stuff like that for acoustic kits. You know, I really like that, but I'm aware that, you know, time marches on and 32-bit plugins aren't going to be easily supported forever. So this plugin had a really nice, from the demo, introspective kind of raw sound, and something that was quite soft, something that you could kind of use on quite a sort of quirky indie mix, really, maybe with some kind of wistful female vocal, you know, slightly melancholic. And I was like, yeah, this is really nice. So I think it's a good product. If I didn't already have what I've got, because I tend to layer some acoustic samples. Occasionally I'll just get on a real kit and just, you know, bash something out, because I am a drummer as well. I know it's sickening, isn't it, all these musical skills I have. And
Drums
and
to
then
ukulele.
other times, yeah, and the ukulele as well, yeah. When I used to play George Formby on the stream, but yeah, other times I'll use like really old hardware stuff, like the Yamaha RX and the RY and stuff like that. So I've got like a big variety of drum sounds available, and still these from this demo kind of made my ears prick up and go,
Well, okay.
I could see them working in certain mixes. So yeah, I
I'm
don't
not
know
sure
if it's
how
enough
big-
for me to actually put down money, but
Yeah, I don't know how big. I'm
but
not
it
sure
did
how
make my ears
large
prick up.
the disc imprint is, but 8,000 ones. I mean, I think the thing is like we've all said, you know, there are these kind of multi-mic studio kit disc streaming solutions, but it's not that far different from actually having to get a drummer in the studio, mic them up and get them to sound the way you want. I mean, obviously there's loads of presets and stuff, but you have, you know, to get that involved, and when you're getting into almost, you know, mic per drum or more than one mic per drum, how much of the low, how much of the under snare do I want, how much of the upper, how much of the room mic, you know, it's like it's a lot of work, but I suppose it does mean you can build your own signature kit, which if you were doing, I don't know, a rock album or something, it would make sense to spend a lot of time to get that kit sound and then have the sort of overall vibe that you wanted. But yeah, it's interesting. There's so many, there are so many ways to tackle the drums like this. But yeah, this one does look like a cool system, I must admit. Okay, let's see. Well, we've got more topics, so fortunately, we go back one. Maybe we'll go to. I don't know, actually. No, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to Tip Top Art System. Why have not?
There are some great moments in life. For us, a moment like that happened 5 years ago when we fired up the prototype to put to test a new type of modular synthesizer signal. We call the signal Art. Like CV, gate, and trigger, Art is now another type of signal in our Eurex systems.
So this is the tip-top sort of one-wire multi-channel control system.
But today, Art is not just a new signal, but everything.
David, I won't. I mean, this is the idea is it's a sort of single-wire multi-channel system that allows you to kind of take a controller system, which may be the Octopus, which is about 300 quid, and then run multiple voices, multiple gates, multiple CV out of one wire, which I can see as a modular thing is kind of a holy grail. This idea that there's a modular bus that's sort of behind all the wires. The thing about this one is that it's still not available, and they've been sort of attempting to explain it in a more succinct way, it seems, for the entire time that they've released it, which I think is maybe somewhat problematic, just purely because it seems like a great idea, probably is a great idea, but it's just quite hard to convince other people about that. So I'm curious what the panel thinks about this. I mean, obviously Richard has a thing in the game because you make modules, so you know that's a caveat, a disclaimer. So we should point that out. But I think it's kind of an interesting thing, isn't it? And I think from what I saw, you can get prices that I think the Octopus is where you start. That's about 320 quid. Then there's a single VCO, which is about 200 quid. I mean, I don't know how much Tip Top stuff is generally, but it feels like it's quite a premium sort of scenario. And while the idea seems great, I wonder what you think, because we've seen it a few times. People have attempted to explain it, and people have quite often said, "I still don't get it." Do you get it, Robin?
Momentarily at times, and then I lose it again. What they need to do is give it to an idiot like myself, someone who flounders, to flounder through it properly, to really flap around in it and go, I just don't understand, and try to reason it out, because there's something there. There's definitely something there, and it looks very good. And I did understand it briefly at Bristronica when the guy was explaining it to me, and then I walked away and it gone. It just fell out of my head, and it's like, oh, damn it, I had it. But then I watched a video today actually that was talking about that it was a 2-minute video, so they are trying to get it down where they just plugged one thing into one thing, and it's starting to get there now. And this is still a single patch cable, which is this. It's this flip-flop between that being genius, we're using the same cable, and stupid because we're using the same cable and it's doing something different. So why confuse ourselves? We did this with MIDI and TRS. We just blew our own minds for no reason. So anyway, so we've got this cable going from the Octopus into the VCO, and that's sending note information, big deal. We do that all the time. And so you sort of think to yourself, well, why is this interesting? But it's also sending gate information. So does that mean it's got a built-in VCA? Well, we do that. So we've saved ourselves one cable. But then where's the envelope? The envelope's somewhere else? Well, then what was this gate thing coming in? And then what was the point of that? And then you can stack that into a polyphonic module, and it suddenly has an entire polyphony thing going on. But then what is that first monophonic module? What is that taking? Which note of the polyphonic stuff is it taking? And how do you know, and do you govern that? Do you control that? And then it spills out into this other thing, as I say. And then they have this quantizer, which isn't a quantizer. I'm going to start getting agitated now. That it does. It
I'm
takes,
so sorry. I didn't mean to get you.
It takes CV and it converts that into art. So that's not quantizing. Why is it called a quantizer? Somebody help me. But so I think they're just messing with us. I think that's all it is. And at Stupid Booth they'll say, it was just a ruse, right? And here's another regular analog module. Sorry.
I think it's fair to say that perhaps the messaging is slightly obfuscated in this product, but the idea of having a busing system which means you don't have to patch everything. I mean, that's already been done to a degree, isn't it, with the Dope for CV bus, isn't it? I mean, Richard, you'll know, but I think did your modules or have your modules supported that? Yes, there we go. There's a man wearing a Dope for t-shirt. I mean, it's a good idea, right, to have something that would be of a standard that would make busing these things more straightforward. Is it?
Yeah.
I think what this art system is doing is it's very publicly trying to solve really hard engineering problems, and they're trying to do both at the same time, which is always very difficult. Yes, it's nice to have a bus to connect between the modules. Different companies use it for different reasons, and as long as you stay in their ecosystems, it's great. I know Tip Top used to use it for clock signals. Dope first sort of set it aside as pitch, CV, and gate. We never used it because it always seemed a little bit confusing as to why would I want something always receiving the same signal. If I can't see the wire, I don't want to know what's happening. But this art system I do find really fascinating. And I think it is both simpler than everyone's making it out to be and maybe a little bit deeper. It's simple in the fact that they've taken MIDI and created sort of a faster, modular, focused equivalent. And that is really nice to be able to, and that solves a really important problem, which is to keep your oscillators in tune. If you play a C3 on your keyboard, this is going to give you a C3. And I think that's an interesting problem that they've solved with this format of theirs. But then they've also done a lot more. And with the idea of they're using USB-C style jacks to carry 8 signals at once. And then they're using mono jacks to carry the digital signals. So I think in the larger scope, this is probably going to be a tip-top thing for quite a while. But as far as what they're doing to solve real musical problems, like when I turn on my modular and I want to play a C, I can play a C. I think that's going to spur a lot of innovation in the Eurorack community at large. And that's a really good thing. I think what Gur did here is really impressive, and I think it's going to help propel Eurorack forward.
Yeah, no, I think that's a fair point. I'd forgotten about the pitching thing. That was a really key thing, particularly if you're doing polyphonic work. I think where I was a bit confused was because I said, well, what if you want to tune to 444 rather than 440? And at the time I spoke to them, that they didn't have that. I mean, I'm sure it's a pretty simple thing at the kind of octopus level to be able to go, oh, master tuning is this instead. So that's not such a big deal. But I don't know, standards and formats, it's a minefield, isn't it? Oh. It's really difficult. And they must be. There must be, there's a lot of time and investment in this, and we want it to work because we don't want to see companies fail at all. But it's quite a steep incline, so they have to really make it compelling, I suppose.
Sure. They really need to send one to Robin as quickly as possible, because I want to see that stream where Robin slowly loses his mind and slowly loses reality. What is this? Yeah, I think the little glimpse we just got there. It was YouTube gold. It was like a comedy act in and of itself. I loved it. So it's fantastic. Man versus synth. I don't quite understand it yet. This is actually the first I saw of it. I haven't been following this. So the link was the first I saw of it. I liked the thing where apparently, they've gotten the videos shorter and shorter as time has gone on, trying to explore this crazy new standard. But the thing that kind of sang to me in what I saw and what I read was, I like the look of the wavetable oscillators. I think there's 2 different ones, aren't there? There's one which is based on the PPG. Is it called and there's one called the Vortex, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
They look really, really cool. Just as, regular modules, they look really cool. But with this extra functionality that I'm not quite sure yet. And it asks the important question, I guess. Should the polyphonic synthesizer world and the Eurorack world meet? Should they? And some people will say yes, let's keep pushing forward and trying to do this. Whereas other people might see it more as, no, I want my modular for just patching stuff, and I want full visual eyes on what signals are going where. I don't want a bus underneath hidden from view. And I'll have my polyphonic stuff for my polyphonic stuff, and it's going to take quite an effort, I think, to kind of merge those two worlds and make people want to try it, I think, because people have got used to one thing for one, other thing for the other, I guess.
Yeah, that's very true. Actually, another important point is it's unclear for now whether they'll make it an open standard, because obviously that's going to be quite a big deal. If it's licensable stuff, that's going to create quite a lot of friction in adoption. If it's a free and open standard thing and they've just got a march on it because they've been building stuff in ahead to sort of show that might be, so that decision presumably I'm sure sense. When I spoke to them they did mention that it was an open standard, but I don't remember now. Maybe that's not the same. I know, Richard, whether you perhaps you might know, because I'd imagine they'd be talking to manufacturers about how they're going to implement it. Do you know if it's a licensable thing or an open standard?
He hasn't reached out to us at all. I did see on one of the videos that he said it's going to be open, but looking through the website yesterday, I didn't see anything where there was information on the standard at all. Although, based on what he was talking about, it doesn't look very difficult to implement, and that's a nice thing about it. Is it seems like it would be, even on the analog side, very easy to implement. I found the whole thing really interesting. And back to the modular versus polysynth debate, I think, and that was one of maybe my biggest concern was what modular synths excel at is complexity, having a monophonic sound that is very complex and very evolving. And polyphonic synths typically have smaller is probably not the right word, but simpler sounds that you can play simultaneously to get that largeness. And I noticed in the patches that I saw in his videos, they're typically an oscillator into a filter, into a VCA with an envelope controlling them. And that's pulling modular back into the idea of simpler sounds. And as I thought this through, I was thinking, well, that's no good, but it does give you the ability to do both. So you're adding this functionality where it wasn't there before, and that's a really positive thing. Like I said, Gur's really trying to solve some very hard problems here, and I think he's I commend him for getting this far. Yeah.
Okay, well, fair enough. I think there's a lot to be said on this, and it's it's a bold move, and we do wish them well. I mean, I guess we'll see them at Super Booth, and we'll see where we've got. And I imagine they'll have another a compelling demo. But I think some of those points about pulling modular into a simpler fashion, because you can always buy a module that is just MIDI and is polyphonic. I mean, there's Nobula, there's a bunch of them, cinematic, and so you could do that stuff, which makes it a little simpler. I'm just going to interrupt for the second of our ads. I want to say thanks very much to Native Instruments for supporting the show. Yep, Guitar Rig Pro 7, your new inspiration suite, filled with new amps, effects and pedals. will spark your creativity and shape your sound. Guitar Rig 7 is also available as part of Music Production 6, which you can pick up at nativeinstruments.com. If you want to save 10% with the code SONIC10, feel free to do that as well. You use that at checkout at native-instruments.com. It's absolutely the way to go, and we thank them very much for their support, and also offering discount to our listeners. Very much appreciated. Thank you very much. Okay, I'm getting quite good at these now. Maybe I don't need to record voiceovers anymore. Right, okay, so let's have a look. So, gosh, so we've done that. Let's now take a look at, this is something that I shot at, what was it called? It was called Buchler and
Music
Friends.
Mester.
That's right, at NAMM. No, Music Mester, yeah, as if. Remember that? Yeah, music. Gosh, now there's a thought. When was the last time I know Paule probably didn't go. Well, okay, Richard, when was the last time you went to Music Messa? Can you remember the year?
I was, it was the last super booth there. So I don't know what year that
15,
was,
16?
but that was the only one that I went to. Yeah, probably around then.
Oh, massive, wasn't it? When we say NAMM's big, that used to be one of the biggest. I mean, it had like 10 halls with 2 floors each. It was ridiculous. I remember the first time I went there, I was carrying a laptop around because I was trying to show people what websites were about. And it wasn't, it was before laptops got light. And I had to have about 5 or 6 months of physiotherapy afterwards to correct my shoulder. And I don't think it's still straight. In fact, one of my shoulders is taller than the other. And I think it's probably from that particular event. I don't know. Robin, what about you? Did you ever go to Music Messa? You must have done.
Oh, yes. Yeah, last time was probably sort of 2003. Something like that. I was all over the Millennium in that sort of arena. I seem to remember meeting the people who wrote the freeware Buddha voice thing that was a VST plugin that was so hot now.
Dalai Lama.
The Dalai Lama. There we go. Yeah, that's what I remember as that, I think.
Gosh,
and also the spaceship
amazing.
That was Dofer at the time that just seemed baffling when I was seeking out software, and there was this weird guy with all this bleepy silver stuff.
I do miss Frankfurt, actually, even though I always used to find, because we'd go and do LA and then Frankfurt would be 6 or 8 weeks later or whenever it was, I can't remember the spacing, and Frankfurt would cost more money. And it just sort of felt, hold on, I'm not even in California, I'm in somewhere where it's cold and it rains a lot. What's going on? That's not correct. I don't know if you've ever been to Frankfurt. It's quite an unusual city, very, very vibrant red light district, and near the railway station. I don't know. I'm not suggesting that's what you'd be interested in any way, shape or form.
Vibrant red light district, you'll love it, Paulie. Nick, was the laptop you took something like this, Behemoth, from the 90s?
That's an old Mac.
A bit more modern?
It would have been a Dell probably. Yeah, but probably something like
chonky
that,
things.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah,
not much fun.
Okay, well, thanks for the recommendation on Frankfurt's red light district. That's fantastic.
Although also one of the best Italian restaurants I've ever been to, which was really good. But anyway, I digress. We did have a topic in here somewhere. I can't remember what it was. Oh, that's right.
A night is forming. A night out is forming.
It's forming. Here we go. This is what I was actually talking about. So yeah, Buchler and Friends. Gosh, I'm there in the end. I get. So this was Wavesequencer, Hyperion. I met with Paul, and it's basically an absolute monster of a synthesizer. 16-part multi-timbral, coded for multi-threaded work. It's really sort of modern coding, so it's way more advanced than perhaps Reactor because the code base is much more modern. It's got oscillator modules, it's got macros, it's got effects. I mean, it's insanely. You basically build this entire, but it's also really efficient, and it's programmed, designed, marketed, graphics, everything by one guy, which I think is what probably makes it a very unique and specific product. And I shot a video with Paul. I think it's Paul. Yes, his name's Paul. And it was, he went through it all, and it was really, how come I've never heard of this? Because it really was kind of quite mind-blowing. I know, Robin, you were nodding with affirmation there, so I'm guessing you might have heard of it, or are you now Googling it?
No, I reviewed it for Sound on Sound when it first came out. Okay. That was 2021. I was just looking it up because I can't remember what the heck I said. But
well, I know that.
My impression of it at the time is that you're right. It's a massively deep and interesting thing. I mean, it looks, I hadn't looked at it for a little while, and it looks like they've put a new front end on it, which is no bad thing because it's a little bit scary behind the scenes. You've got these masses of nodes. So these little pinpoints and rows of stuff that have got all their ins and outs attached to them as little sort of tags. And you essentially build this modular synth within the environment. And you've got layer upon layer upon layer of them.
16 layers, yeah.
Yeah, and you can portal sort of like CV from one layer into another layer. So you've got it not only sort of spread out in front of you this way, but it's also going in depth as well. And you've got modulation and signal routing from one to another. So you can have like an effects layer that you route everything else to, or an FM layer that's modulating other bits. Well, you can organize it however you like. You can do the whole thing on a single page if you like. So it has the potential of being unwieldy, but the power within there is quite amazing. And so, I mean, it has like a bit of an orderless feel to it, that kind of software modular system. Right. But so at the time on the first version, you only had a little bit of control down either side in sort of knobs and stuff. Whereas now it looks like they've brought out those macros, which you could make and put them on a lovely front end, which is no bad thing because it gives you the ability to control, because you control a whole load of controls on a single knob. And it becomes a very evolving, very expressive synthesizer. But and as almost like a byproduct, all this fascinating connection of everything, it sounds bloody good as well all at the same time. So it's like hitting a big workstation, like hitting a Klevgrand One, and you get these big combi sounds coming out of it. It has that sort of vibe to it because it looks very, it's going to be bleepy and it's going to be a little bit sort of raw, and it's not. It's huge. It's massive sounds that come out of this thing, but you get all of the access to what's going on behind the scenes. So that's a lot of fun in there.
Well, I should also point out there's a Thea, I think it's called Thea, I don't know how you pronounce it, which is a player which just plays the patches. So you sort of see that macro thing and you get a bit of editing. And I can't remember how much that costs. I mean, I think the whole thing costs $129. So Thea probably is considerably less than that. So it might be worth doing it for a patch flip thing. It's interesting though, isn't it? Because sometimes when it's like being confronted with Reactor, or I found the same thing with, what's the Spectrasonics thing? The kind of just the do everything synth. I've forgotten what it's called now. That's been around for years. It's Omnisphere. I just look at it and I go, I can't actually handle the concept of this. It's too much in one go. And I wonder if it suffers a little bit from that overness. And the idea of doing the macros is actually a really smart idea. I know, Richard, I don't know how much you use software instruments and, for convenience, obviously, if you want recallability and whatnot, it's an inevitability, particularly if you're doing commercial work. But I don't know how what sort of relationship you have with that stuff.
I'll use it in the evenings when I'm sitting at home and I have an idea and I just want to sort of bang it out in Ableton. I use plugins and then I'll go back and replace them. But I thought this software, everyone's talking about how complex and big it is, but I think there's an underlying simplicity to it for someone that understands modular synthesizers and understands the general signal flow of a synth. The idea that you could go in and work with those nodes and create something very quickly that then translates to these huge sounds, I found that really, really interesting. It reminded me of the old Nord modular, where you could very quickly, pull a preset in and just swap a node out very fast and come up with something really interesting. So this, although it is huge on the front end, I think the fact that you have access to the back end and you can visually see exactly what's going on makes it very easy to work with. And this is definitely something that I would pull up and tinker around with.
Interesting. It's interesting you likened it to the Nord modular, which is interesting. There's never really been a kind of, I guess, Reactor might have been, but Reactor's almost to the point because you had to build the knobs, and everything. That's and I should also point out that because he did tell me a little bit about this in the video piece that was shot at Buckler and Friends, that it's coded for modern hyperthreads. So the CPU load it's very efficient. I don't know if that's
amazing.
Makes a difference to you, Paulie. You probably run loads of them on your M1 Mac.
Possibly, yeah. I've got very sort of two ends of computers in my life, very, very early ones, and now I've got a modern one. I think I'm going to buy this. This is
Right,
another thing I
okay.
didn't necessarily know, but I'm like just reading through the algorithms, and I'm like addicted because it's got its digital and VA oscillators with hard sync and bit crush, then 4-op FM, wave sequencing with 4-op FM. The Nautilus can do wave sequencing or it can do FM. You can't do both at once. Physical modeling, and you can import sound font files. So I could import my old, samples that I've made, multi-samples that I've made. So I think I'm definitely going to grab this to play with. And yeah,
cool.
it doesn't look too bad. That I don't think. I'm not entirely sure
But
how the nodes work, but we'll see.
I think it's I think you're right, though. I think it's for things like this to really take hold. You generally have to have a kind of easy way in for the novice, I suppose.
Yeah,
because then
definitely.
the novice may be enticed into sort of then finding a bit more about it. And I imagine there's that thing
Yes.
where you go, oh look, there's a pretty picture with 4 knobs on it, and suddenly, oh, what's behind there? Oh my god, it's like it's going to be a bit of
Yeah,
shock.
I know what you mean.
It'd be a bit of a surprise, It's like, oh, I see. Well, maybe this is or isn't for me. I don't know. It's a curious mark.
I know that there's this kind of macro mode with, just a few parameters and a little bit to tweak, but maybe there could be an even more intermediate level of a kind of slight training wheels mode, but say it's just built for a certain thing, like just a 4-op FM setup with no distractions, you know what I mean? Some
There's
kind of
probably-
presets that you can't really alter.
Yeah.
That would be kind of good for learning it. And maybe a series of,
bad shout.
I don't know if this exists in it already, a series of tutorial kind of patches could be useful.
I think there's a whole load of
for people.
defaults which kind of give you a basic
Yeah.
subtractive, a basic sample, because it does sample
Oh,
playback.
that's cool.
It does, So yeah, maybe, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, it is only one guy. I mean, he didn't look exhausted, but I'm
sure.
sure he's probably flat out. I mean, I can't imagine he's.
Yeah, I mean,
incredibly.
he was
hard.
very good.
Achievement.
Yeah, I mean, he was very good to work with, I have to say. I mean, we talked a lot about, when doing the review, we had a lot of two-way conversations about, chipping away at a few of the corners that I hit straight away, I mean, I think one of the criticisms I left it with was that it could do with sort of preset nodes. So it felt like you had to build everything every time. This is with version 1. It may be different now. But initially, you were having to stick a node in and then pick things from a menu and then wire it up. And it felt like it would be great if I could just grab a preset thing, like Paule says, and slap that on the page and then wire those things up. So that may be possible now, because he was very, very amenable to ideas and getting it better, And also, I mean, just
really
a
cool.
shout out to Traction with the way they seem to have a really interesting bunch of software synthesizer developers within their little ship or house, barn, whatever it is. They curate these little synths from people like this, and they're great. They're really quirky and interesting. They're some of the most interesting bits and pieces coming out of there at the minute.
Yeah, well, don't forget though. I think Wave Razor, wasn't it? Was from Mock, which was Taiho Yamada. He that was a software thing first, I think, if I remember correctly. But there was a part of the Traction family. Yeah, interesting stuff. Anyway, I thought it was worth a shout out. It's something you should definitely check out. I think it's wavesequencer.com, if I remember correctly. Let's have a look. Is it? Well, it's that link anyway. You can find the link to it if you check out the web page that I just put a link to. Well, I know, Robin, you've got to head off for real life stuff. So what I might do is just bring things to a close, because I've got some things I've got to sort out as well. My car needs MOTing and all that sort of stuff. So, Paule, you're going to be live streaming a little bit later on. Is that right?
Yeah, in about an hour.
Straight into it. In about an hour. Excellent. Which you can find. Is that on the Magical Synth Adventure 3216 channel?
It is.
Excellent.
I don't know why
Snappy.
it added 3216 to my
Because
thing,
there were
but it kind of makes sense.
3,215 other Magical Synth Adventure identities. So
Yeah, exactly. There must be. Yeah.
And you thought you were original. How disappointing.
I know, crushing. But that's okay. Yes, so please tune in about an hour's time for some JVXV weirdness.
Excellent. Look forward to it. Nice one.
No wedding presets, just just weird
straight
stuff.
Excellent. All right. Well, thank you very much, Paulie. And Robin, I'm going to go to you next because you might have to dash out the door any second. Thanks ever so much, and well done for Syntheast. You know, it's important that we, you know, I mean, we do our own small things, but you've really gone for it and gone. You've been very ambitious, and by all accounts, everything has just gone very well. So I'm very pleased to hear that.
Yeah, it has. I mean, I have an awful lot of support from people, and you know, the venue, Electronic Sound Magazine, you know, and all the people who come along. Tons of people giving up their time, being generous with their time and their situation to make this such a great little community focused synthesizer crazy time. Oh, it's been totally brilliant. Totally brilliant.
Excellent. Well, I hope you're buzzing as you should be after that, and it fuels you through the last bleak weeks of the early winter, the late winter, because you know February can be a bit, and March can be a bit crap. So you'll come out like a smiling butterfly in March and ready for Super Booth. That sounds perfect.
Yes.
I don't know what I'm saying. I'm just saying anything that comes to mind. And of course, Richard Nicol, thank you very much for joining us as well. It's lovely to have you as ever. I'm pleased. Oh, I've just noticed. Is that an Apollo model? Is that one of the Airfix ones that you have to build yourself? I used to have one of those. I'm sure. The rocket.
Legos.
Oh, it's a Lego.
Yeah,
as well. Okay.
it's all Legos.
Actually, I hate to be a pedant, but it is actually Lego. But there you go. I mean, it's American. That's the American way of saying it.
But there's more than one Lego there. It's Legos.
I can't
no,
tell from
all
it.
right.
No. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like sheep, you know.
You don't say sheeps. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, indeed.
That's true.
Ferret.
You don't
All
say
right.
sheeps.
No, not no. Anyway, Richard, I wish you all the best with your launch. I will be waiting with bated breath for next week when the news will be probably available with everybody. But thank you very much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure, and you're welcome anytime.
Oh, thank you. It's been a pleasure. On Sunday we're going to put out a little. Maybe the dumbest teaser video we've ever done. And then, Monday we should have something new for everyone to see.
Excellent. All righty. Okay. Well, I'll just go to the fours up for the final shot. Don't forget, our EMOM is on Friday, this Friday. If you're in the area, do come and grab a, if I press that, if I press that button, this is the link to it. There you go. That's the link. You can get tickets, and there's also details to the live stream as well. Sorry, I nearly hit you in the chin there, Robin, with that lower third. I do beg your pardon. Anyway, that's it for this week. Thank you ever so much. It's been an absolute pleasure. We'll see you all. We'll see you live on Friday, but we'll see you the following Wednesday. Take care. Bye-bye now.
Cheers.